Stop for a second. Most people fight with noise, anger, and desperate reactions. You don't. You walk into chaos with a calm expression, and somehow everyone else loses control. That's the difference they never expected. While others waste energy proving themselves, you quietly rewrite the battlefield inside people's minds. Every move is deliberate. Every silence carries weight. They think they're studying you, but they're revealing themselves instead. If psychological warfare had a perfect blueprint, your discipline would be impossible to ignore. Today, you'll discover why true power isn't about domination. It's about mastering yourself so completely that the world can't predict your next move. The greatest battles are rarely won by the loudest voice or the strongest fist. They are won by the person who refuses to surrender control of their own emotions. Most people believe power comes from making others afraid, but real influence begins the moment you stop allowing your own feelings to become someone else's weapon. Every insult, every betrayal, every attempt to provoke you is designed with one purpose: to make you react before you think. The second you lose control, you begin playing by someone else's rules instead of your own. Think about how easily people reveal themselves. Some become angry because they don't get immediate respect. Others panic the moment life refuses to follow their plans. Many chase approval so desperately that they sacrifice their values just to hear applause from strangers. These reactions are predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. Once someone understands what makes you angry, insecure, jealous, or impatient, they don't have to defeat you physically. They simply press the right emotional button and watch you destroy your own position. Now imagine becoming the opposite. Imagine reaching a point where insults no longer dictate your mood, criticism no longer steals your confidence, and praise no longer controls your decisions. That level of emotional discipline creates something most people cannot understand. They expect drama. They prepare for revenge. They wait for you to explode. Instead, they encounter silence, patience, and calculated decisions. Their strategy falls apart because it depended on your emotional weakness, and you refused to provide it. People often mistake emotional control for emotional emptiness. They assume calm individuals don't feel pain, disappointment, or frustration. Nothing could be further from the truth. The strongest people experience every emotion just as deeply as everyone else. The difference is they decide when those emotions deserve attention. They understand that feelings are signals, not commanders. Anger may warn you that something is wrong, but it should never choose your next move. Fear may alert you to danger, but it should never become the author of your future. Doubt may visit your mind, but it should never sign permanent contracts with your confidence. Every environment tests this discipline. At work, someone may question your ability. In relationships, someone may misunderstand your intentions. Among friends, envy may disguise itself as jokes. Online, strangers may criticize things they barely understand. The easiest response is immediate retaliation because it feels satisfying in the moment. The wiser response is observation. Ask yourself whether the reaction you're about to give serves your future or simply feeds your ego. That single question separates those who build influence from those who constantly lose it. Notice how the most composed individuals rarely rush into arguments. They listen longer than expected. They collect information while others waste energy speaking without purpose. Every emotional outburst around them becomes valuable intelligence. They discover hidden fears, personal insecurities, desperate ambitions, and fragile egos without asking a single question. Meanwhile, they reveal almost nothing about themselves. This imbalance creates an advantage that loud personalities rarely recognize until it's too late. There is also a strange confidence that develops when you no longer need immediate victory. Most people crave instant validation. They want to win every debate, answer every insult, and prove every critic wrong. But emotional discipline teaches patience. Sometimes the smartest response is allowing time to expose the truth naturally. Sometimes silence accomplishes what 1,000 explanations never could. While others exhaust themselves trying to control opinions, you invest your energy in controlling actions. Results eventually speak louder than emotional arguments ever will. This mindset transforms pressure into opportunity. Instead of viewing stressful situations as threats, you begin treating them as training grounds. Every difficult conversation becomes practice for patience. Every disappointment becomes practice for resilience. Every betrayal becomes practice for wisdom. Instead of asking why life keeps challenging you, you begin asking what skill each challenge is trying to strengthen. That shift alone changes everything, because adversity stops feeling like punishment and starts becoming preparation. The world is filled with people who confuse intensity with strength. They slam doors, raise voices, issue threats, and mistake emotional explosions for courage. In reality, these displays often reveal insecurity rather than confidence. Anyone can lose control. Anyone can react without thinking. The rare individual is the one who remains composed while everyone else falls into chaos. Calmness under pressure is not weakness. It is evidence that your mind answers to your principles instead of your impulses. Eventually, people begin treating you differently. Those who once tried to provoke you become frustrated because their usual tactics no longer work. Those who underestimated your patience begin questioning their assumptions. Even your own confidence grows because you realize your greatest victory is no longer defeating other people. It is becoming someone who cannot be controlled by fear, anger, ego, or panic, regardless of what the world places in front of you. Most people believe influence comes from saying the right words at the right time. They spend their lives trying to sound impressive, explain every decision, defend every action, and convince everyone around them that they deserve respect. What they never realize is that every unnecessary sentence gives away another piece of themselves. Every rushed explanation exposes insecurity. Every emotional argument reveals hidden fears. Every attempt to justify your worth tells observant people exactly where your confidence is weakest. The person who speaks the most often leaves behind the clearest trail for others to follow. Silence is different. Silence creates space. It forces people to wonder instead of assuming. It encourages observation instead of reaction. While everyone else races to fill every moment with opinions, the quiet mind gathers information that cannot be collected while speaking. You cannot truly study people if your attention is focused on your own voice. The moment you stop trying to dominate every conversation, you begin noticing the details others overlook. Watch how people behave when they think no one is paying attention. Their posture changes, their tone shifts, their priorities become visible. Someone who constantly praises loyalty may abandon a friend the moment personal gain appears. Someone who claims confidence may become defensive over the smallest criticism. Someone who speaks endlessly about honesty may struggle to maintain eye contact when difficult questions arise. Human nature reveals itself through consistent behavior far more than carefully chosen words. Silence allows you to witness those patterns without interrupting them. Many people become uncomfortable when conversations pause. They rush to fill the emptiness because they mistake silence for weakness or awkwardness. Yet those quiet moments often produce the most valuable information. People naturally dislike uncertainty. When they feel compelled to break the silence, they frequently reveal more than they originally intended. They begin explaining themselves, sharing personal opinions, exposing frustrations, or uncovering motivations they would have otherwise kept hidden. You didn't force them to confess anything. You simply gave them enough room to do it on their own. There is another advantage to becoming an observer instead of a constant speaker. Emotional situations lose much of their power over you. When someone insults you, your first instinct is no longer immediate defense. Instead, you become curious. Why are they angry? What insecurity are they protecting? Why does your presence bother them so much? Curiosity replaces emotional reaction. Instead of becoming another participant in chaos, you become a student of human behavior. That shift changes every interaction because you stop taking everything personally. This doesn't mean becoming distant or cold. It means learning that not every thought deserves to be spoken, and not every battle deserves your voice. Some conversations are designed to drain your energy rather than expand your understanding. Some people ask questions not because they seek answers, but because they hope to provoke reactions. Recognizing this saves you from countless unnecessary conflicts. Your silence becomes a decision, not a surrender. Observe successful leaders, skilled negotiators, and disciplined individuals in any field. They rarely interrupt. They ask thoughtful questions and genuinely listen to the answers. They understand that information is one of the most valuable forms of power. Every conversation offers clues about fears, ambitions, habits, strengths, and weaknesses. The person obsessed with talking misses those clues because they are too busy preparing their next sentence. The person committed to listening collects knowledge that cannot be gained any other way. Silence also protects your future. Every promise you avoid making too quickly, every opinion you refuse to express impulsively, and every emotional reaction you choose not to reveal preserves your flexibility. Once words leave your mouth, they cannot be taken back. They create expectations, commitments, and consequences. Careful speech allows you to think before acting rather than spending your time repairing damage caused by impulsive conversations. There is strength in becoming difficult to read. When people cannot predict your thoughts from every expression or every sentence, they stop assuming they understand you. They become more cautious. They pay closer attention. Meanwhile, you continue learning about them without exposing unnecessary parts of yourself. This balance shifts the entire dynamic of every relationship. You remain authentic, but you stop giving away your entire strategy before life has even begun testing it. The loudest person in the room often attracts attention for a moment. The quiet observer earns understanding that lasts much longer. While others compete to be heard, you become the one who notices changing moods, hidden intentions, subtle contradictions, and opportunities invisible to distracted minds. Over time, these observations shape wiser decisions, stronger relationships, and better judgment. You stop reacting to appearances and begin responding to reality. In a world overflowing with noise, the ability to remain silent long enough to truly see people becomes a rare advantage that cannot be copied by those who mistake constant talking for genuine confidence. Most people become predictable without ever realizing it. They wake up with the same thoughts, react to problems in the same way, defend themselves with the same excuses, and allow others to anticipate every decision before it is even made. Predictability feels comfortable because it requires little effort, but comfort often becomes the greatest limitation. The moment people know exactly how you will respond, they gain the ability to influence your choices. They know which words will anger you, which situations will frighten you, and which temptations will distract you. Your routine becomes their strategy. Think about every challenge as a game of patterns. An opponent does not need extraordinary intelligence to gain an advantage if they already know your next move. Whether in business, relationships, competition, or everyday life, predictable behavior makes you easier to manipulate. If someone knows you always answer immediately, they will expect your attention. If they know you always seek approval, they will use praise as leverage. If they know you react emotionally under pressure, they will create pressure whenever they want control. Predictability hands your decisions to other people before the situation has even begun. The strongest advantage is not confusion for its own sake. It is flexibility. Flexible people cannot be trapped by expectations because they are willing to adapt when circumstances demand it. They are calm enough to change direction without feeling that their pride has been wounded. They understand that stubbornness is often disguised as strength, while true confidence is the ability to adjust without losing your purpose. People often mistake unpredictability for reckless behavior. They imagine impulsive decisions, unnecessary risks, or random actions with no clear direction. That is not real unpredictability. Randomness creates chaos. Discipline creates surprise. The most effective individuals remain guided by principles, but they refuse to become prisoners of habits that no longer serve them. Others may predict their values, but they cannot predict exactly how those values will be expressed in every situation. Imagine someone trying to provoke you into an argument. They expect you to become defensive because that has always worked before. Instead of responding with anger, you respond with patience. Their plan immediately collapses because it depended on a reaction you refused to provide. Another person expects you to quit after experiencing failure because everyone else has. Instead, you become even more determined. Once again, expectations fail. Every time you refuse to follow the script someone has written for you, you reclaim control over the outcome. One of the greatest forms of unpredictability is continuous growth. The world expects people to stay the same. It expects old habits, familiar fears, and repeated mistakes. That is why personal development surprises so many observers. They remember who you were yesterday and assume tomorrow will look identical. They don't expect disciplined routines, deeper thinking, improved communication, or stronger emotional control. While they are busy judging an outdated version of you, you are quietly becoming someone they no longer recognize. This approach also protects you from manipulation because your decisions become based on thoughtful judgment instead of emotional habit. When every response is intentional, people struggle to calculate their influence over you. They cannot depend on guilt because you have learned healthy boundaries. They cannot depend on fear because you have accepted uncertainty. They cannot depend on praise because your self-worth no longer depends on outside approval. Every expectation they once relied upon begins disappearing one by one. There is another hidden benefit to becoming less predictable. Your own mind becomes stronger. You stop living on autopilot. Instead of asking, "What do I usually do?" you begin asking, "What is the wisest action right now?" That simple change transforms ordinary choices into deliberate decisions. You become more aware of your habits, more conscious of your emotions, and more capable of responding according to the present moment instead of repeating the past. Many people never question the routines controlling their lives. They complain about identical results while protecting identical behaviors. Yet change has always demanded a willingness to break familiar patterns. Growth begins where repetition ends. Every new skill, every improved mindset, and every stronger version of yourself requires stepping beyond automatic reactions and replacing them with intentional action. This doesn't mean becoming mysterious for the sake of appearances. It means refusing to let comfort define your future. Learn new abilities when people expect you to remain average. Stay calm when others expect panic. Walk away when they expect desperation. Remain humble when success arrives. Keep improving when they believe you've reached your limit. Let your consistency exist in your principles, not in your predictability. Over time, people stop assuming they know what comes next. They become cautious because your decisions are guided by wisdom rather than habit. Opportunities appear because your mind is open instead of fixed. Challenges lose much of their power because you are no longer locked into one way of thinking. While others continue repeating yesterday's patterns, you continue adapting, learning, and evolving, becoming someone whose greatest advantage is not secrecy, but the disciplined ability to choose the response that best serves the moment instead of the one everyone expected. Every battle is decided long before anyone else notices it. The outcome is rarely determined by the loudest argument, the strongest opponent, or the most dramatic moment. It begins in the private conversations you have with yourself when no one is watching. If your mind is ruled by fear, doubt, and impulse, every challenge outside of you becomes twice as difficult. But when your thoughts are disciplined, even the most chaotic situations lose much of their power. The first battlefield has never been the world around you. It has always been the one inside your own mind. Most people spend their lives trying to control circumstances while ignoring the one thing they truly have authority over: their own thinking. They blame difficult people, unfair opportunities, bad luck, or unexpected setbacks for every disappointment. While those factors may exist, they become far less dangerous when your inner world remains steady. External pressure can only dominate someone who has already surrendered internally. A calm mind turns confusion into clarity, while a restless mind transforms small obstacles into overwhelming disasters. Think about moments when emotions took control. Perhaps anger convinced you to say words you later regretted. Maybe fear persuaded you to abandon an opportunity that could have changed your life. Perhaps insecurity caused you to seek approval from people who never deserved your attention. Those decisions were not failures of intelligence. They were moments when emotion overruled discipline. Every person experiences these moments, but those who grow stronger learn to recognize them before they become permanent mistakes. Inner discipline begins with awareness. Before you can master your reactions, you must first notice them. Observe how your thoughts change when someone criticizes you. Notice how quickly your confidence shifts when plans fall apart. Pay attention to the stories your mind creates during uncertainty. Many of these stories are not facts. They are assumptions built from fear, pride, or past experiences. The disciplined person questions those assumptions instead of accepting them without resistance. The mind is constantly searching for comfort. It prefers familiar habits, even when those habits create suffering. It would rather repeat yesterday's mistakes than face the discomfort of meaningful growth. That is why discipline feels difficult at first. It asks you to act according to your principles instead of your temporary emotions. It demands patience when frustration screams for immediate action. It encourages consistency when motivation disappears. Over time, this discipline becomes stronger than any passing feeling because it is built on choice rather than mood. Many people believe confidence comes from winning. Real confidence comes from preparation. When you consistently train your mind to remain focused, patient, and adaptable, pressure no longer feels like an enemy. It becomes a test of habits you have already practiced. A person who depends entirely on motivation collapses when inspiration fades. A person who depends on discipline continues moving forward regardless of emotional weather. This quiet consistency creates resilience that others mistake for natural talent. There is also tremendous influence in mastering your internal dialogue. The voice inside your mind becomes the foundation of every action you take. If that voice constantly repeats words of limitation, eventually your behavior begins reflecting those beliefs. If it continually reminds you that every obstacle contains an opportunity to grow, your actions begin matching that perspective instead. The outside world often mirrors the mindset you repeatedly strengthen within yourself. Change the conversation inside your mind, and you gradually change the direction of your entire life. Discipline also protects you from becoming controlled by other people. Those who understand human nature know that emotional individuals are easier to manipulate. They provoke anger, create fear, encourage jealousy, or offer temporary validation because they know emotional reactions produce predictable decisions. But when your mind is governed by values instead of impulses, these tactics lose much of their effectiveness. You stop reacting simply because someone expects you to. Every decision becomes intentional rather than automatic. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending they do not exist. Emotions are valuable signals. They alert you to danger, reveal your values, and help you connect with others. The problem begins when emotions become permanent leaders instead of temporary advisors. A disciplined mind listens to emotion without surrendering authority. It acknowledges fear without obeying it. It recognizes anger without allowing it to dictate behavior. It appreciates excitement without becoming careless. Balance replaces impulse, and wisdom replaces reaction. The strongest individuals are rarely those who never struggle. They are the ones who refuse to let struggle define them. Every setback becomes another opportunity to strengthen patience. Every disappointment becomes another lesson in resilience. Every criticism becomes another chance to improve without becoming bitter. Instead of allowing circumstances to shape their identity, they choose to shape their character regardless of circumstances. That quiet decision changes everything because it shifts power away from unpredictable events and places it back where it belongs, within the disciplined mind that chooses its response long before the world demands one. Life has a way of testing every person without asking for permission. No one escapes disappointment, betrayal, failure, criticism, or unexpected loss. The difference is never found in the challenge itself. It is found in the response. Most people see obstacles as proof they should stop. They interpret rejection as evidence they are not good enough. They allow failure to become part of their identity instead of recognizing it as a temporary event. That single mistake traps them in a cycle where every setback feels like the end of the journey instead of the beginning of a stronger version of themselves. Pressure has always revealed character more than comfort ever could. When everything is going well, confidence is easy, patience is easy, discipline is easy. But when plans collapse, opportunities disappear, or people walk away, the truth about your mindset becomes impossible to hide. Difficult moments strip away appearances and expose the habits you've been building for years. That is why challenges should never be feared. They are honest teachers. They show you exactly where your weaknesses exist, giving you the opportunity to strengthen them before they become permanent limitations. Most people waste enormous amounts of energy asking one question: why is this happening to me? It feels natural because pain demands explanations. Yet that question often leads nowhere. It keeps your attention fixed on the problem instead of the possibility hidden inside it. A more powerful question is, what can this experience teach me that success never could? That simple shift transforms frustration into curiosity. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, you become a student of adversity. Every criticism contains information, even if it is delivered unfairly. Sometimes criticism is completely wrong, revealing more about the speaker than about you. Other times, buried beneath poor delivery, there is a valuable lesson waiting to be discovered. Emotionally mature people learn to separate the message from the messenger. They refuse to let pride prevent improvement. They listen carefully, keep what strengthens them, and leave behind everything that serves no purpose. This ability turns even negativity into an unexpected advantage. Failure follows the same principle. Society often treats failure as something embarrassing, something to hide from others. Yet every meaningful achievement has been shaped by repeated mistakes. Skills are refined through correction, wisdom is earned through experience, and resilience is built by recovering after disappointment. People admire confidence without realizing it was often constructed on a foundation of countless failures that taught valuable lessons. Every mistake carries instructions for improvement if you are willing to study it instead of running from it. Betrayal also changes people, but not always in the way they expect. Some become bitter, suspicious, and emotionally closed. They allow one painful experience to define every future relationship. Others choose a different path. They become wiser without becoming colder. They strengthen their boundaries without destroying their compassion. They learn that trust should be earned, not freely handed to everyone, but they refuse to let another person's choices steal their own character. That decision preserves their strength while protecting their peace. Pressure is another powerful teacher. Most people believe pressure exists to break them, but pressure often reveals abilities they never knew they possessed. When comfort disappears, creativity awakens. Determination grows stronger. Hidden resilience begins to emerge. Many of life's greatest breakthroughs happen only because someone refused to surrender during moments that seemed impossible. The obstacle they once hated eventually became the reason they discovered their true potential. Growth also demands the courage to release old identity. You cannot become stronger while constantly protecting outdated versions of yourself. Old habits, limiting beliefs, unhealthy relationships, and familiar excuses must eventually be left behind. This process feels uncomfortable because growth almost always requires letting go before moving forward. But every challenge becomes easier when you understand that discomfort is often evidence that transformation has already begun. There is remarkable power in viewing every difficult experience as preparation instead of punishment. Suddenly, rejection becomes training for resilience. Delays become lessons in patience. Failure becomes education. Criticism becomes feedback. Pressure becomes practice. Instead of allowing hardship to drain your confidence, you begin using it to sharpen your judgment, strengthen your discipline, and deepen your self-awareness. The same experiences that once seemed designed to defeat you gradually become the tools that build your greatest strengths. Eventually, people notice something different about you. Situations that once caused panic now produce calm decisions. Obstacles that once stopped your progress now become opportunities to adapt. Criticism that once damaged your confidence now fuels your improvement. While others continue searching for an easier path, you become someone who understands that every challenge carries the potential to shape a wiser, stronger, and more disciplined mind. Instead of asking life to remove the pressure, you learn to let the pressure refine you until every setback becomes another step toward becoming the person adversity could never destroy. There is a certain kind of person who cannot be controlled because they cannot be fully understood. Not because they hide behind deception or wear different masks for different people, but because they have developed a level of discipline that refuses to be driven by emotion, ego, or outside expectations. Most individuals become easy to predict because they repeat the same patterns. They react to praise with excitement, to criticism with anger, to rejection with desperation, and to success with comfort. Their behavior follows familiar paths, making every future decision easier to anticipate. The moment you step beyond those predictable habits, you become far more difficult to influence. People spend an incredible amount of time trying to figure each other out. They observe your habits, test your boundaries, and search for emotional weaknesses they can use to their advantage. Some will flatter you because they believe you crave approval. Others will challenge you because they expect pride to control your response. A few may even create unnecessary conflict simply to see how easily your emotions can be manipulated. These strategies work only when your actions are controlled by impulses instead of principles. Once your decisions come from self-discipline rather than emotional reactions, those methods begin to lose their power. One of the greatest forms of strength is becoming consistent in your values while remaining flexible in your methods. Your honesty should never change. Your integrity should remain firm. Your respect for yourself should not depend on another person's opinion. But the way you respond to different situations should always be guided by wisdom instead of habit. Sometimes strength means speaking confidently. Other times it means remaining silent. Sometimes it means walking away. Other times it means standing your ground. The person who chooses the right response for the moment cannot be easily predicted because every decision is intentional rather than automatic. Many people confuse mystery with secrecy. They believe becoming difficult to understand means revealing nothing, trusting no one, and keeping everyone at a distance. In reality, genuine strength has little to do with appearing mysterious. It comes from becoming emotionally balanced enough that your identity is no longer shaped by temporary circumstances. You are not different because you are pretending to be unpredictable. You are different because your character is stable even when the world around you becomes unstable. This level of composure takes time to build. It is created every time you choose patience instead of impulse. Every time you refuse to argue over something meaningless. Every time you keep your promises when no one is watching. Every time you continue improving after failure instead of making excuses. These quiet decisions rarely attract attention in the moment, but together they create a mindset that cannot be shaken by ordinary pressure. Others may only notice the confidence you display, never realizing it was built through countless moments of unseen discipline. There is also freedom in no longer needing to prove yourself. Many people become trapped because they constantly seek recognition. They want everyone to understand their intentions, admire their abilities, and approve of their choices. This dependence gives others influence over their emotions. But when your confidence comes from your own principles instead of public opinion, that influence disappears. You stop wasting energy explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You let your actions become your strongest argument. Adaptability becomes another defining characteristic. Life changes without warning. Opportunities appear unexpectedly. Challenges arrive uninvited. Relationships evolve. Circumstances shift. Those who cling to rigid expectations often struggle because they expect reality to follow their personal plans. A disciplined mind accepts change without surrendering purpose. It adjusts strategies while protecting values. It learns new skills without abandoning identity. This balance allows continuous growth while maintaining inner stability. Another reason people become impossible to predict is that they never stop learning. Every conversation teaches something. Every success reveals new responsibilities. Every failure uncovers another lesson. Curiosity replaces arrogance. Instead of believing they already know enough, they remain open to improvement. This commitment to learning ensures they continue evolving, while others remain trapped in familiar routines. Anyone attempting to define them using yesterday's version will always be one step behind. There is quiet confidence in knowing you do not have to win every argument to win your future. You do not need immediate revenge to restore your dignity. You do not need constant praise to believe in your own worth. The more your peace depends on your internal discipline rather than external events, the less control the world has over you. That independence creates a calm presence that many people mistake for mystery. when in reality it is simply the result of emotional maturity and deliberate self-mastery. Eventually, your life begins reflecting these choices. People stop assuming they know how you will react because you are no longer driven by predictable emotions. Challenges stop defining your direction because your purpose remains stronger than temporary setbacks. Criticism loses its ability to distract you because your standards come from within. Praise no longer controls your decisions because your identity has been built through discipline rather than applause. You become someone whose greatest advantage is not secrecy, intimidation, or manipulation, but a mind so balanced, adaptable, and self-controlled that no circumstance, no opinion, and no opponent can easily determine your next move.